hitting that accordion. And you know what? It's Too Hard, Too Fast, the podcast with strong opinions about things that we may or may not know too much about in order to broaden perspectives. It's Thursday. You know what that means. We're continuing the conversation with Monica Saldivar, the 2020
Tejano Music Award winner for Best New Female Artist.
Woo! Wow, man. I can't believe she's here with us. It's an honor, and we love it. We're going to find out in this episode the state of Tejano. Is Tejano alive and well? We'll stick around and find out. And we're going to listen to her Too Hard, Too Fast story of when she opened up for Bobby Pulido, the Bobby Pulido from Higo Paz, para mi gente de Higo Paz.
El Aguilón! Whoop, whoop.
Hey, sit back, buckle up. Let's go. Too hard, too fast.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome to 2Hard2Fast.
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 Welcome to 2Hard, Too Fast.
Hey everybody, this is Monica Saldivar. Welcome back to 2Hard2Fast with George and Robert.
Woo! Welcome back.
It's the podcast by the people for the people. All right.
Tejano, mi gente de San Antonio, de Texas.
La raza.
Hey, y de Grand Prairie.
Yep.
The podcast of the century.
Right. But let's turn things around a little bit. Let's bring it back to the fact that I meant to ask you when you realized you had this kind of talent. And so that really interests me. I love having musicians on because secretly, maybe it wasn't so secret. I wanted to be a singer. But clearly I probably have a voice better suited for a podcast.
I don't know. I've never heard you sing. I can't tell you if it was or
And
not.
you don't want to. Trust me. Ask him. Hey, no. No, I do not have a singing voice, and I made peace with that a long time ago. But I do admire, singers, and so obviously, getting you on here, I love listening to how they found out that they had a talent because I know how I felt when I found out I didn't have the talent.
Oh no!
When did you find out?
No.
Was it yesterday?
Oh man, when did you find out that all your college friends were lying to you?
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's so terrible.
It's okay. It's Too Hard, Too Fast. It's what we do.
There we go. Too hard, too fast.
But Monica, when did you find out that you have this talent and that you were gonna go with it?
So I actually started singing, and you're probably going to hear this from everyone, from everybody that ever started music. I had started singing before I could even talk. I was about 5 years old, and I was singing Tim McGraw. So I started off my whole career with country. But Tim McGraw was like my daddy number 2, because I imagined that would be my other father.
Hey,
my musical dad.
Number 1's right next to you.
And so
tell me what he looks like right now. Tell me his face. What does he say? What is he doing?
He's like, No, but we would listen to Tim McGraw in the car, and I'd be in my car seat and I would hum it. And so my parents would be like, oh, okay, she's actually humming the melody. That's really cool. Before I started speaking, I would sing, and we had everything. This was like the 90s. So, Mariah Carey, Boyz II Men, Tim McGraw, we had Shania Twain in the car, Faith Hill, AC/DC, what else? Linkin Park. So we had like a big mixture of stuff. My dad was the alternative rock. My mom was like, she was more on the countryside. And then, mariachi, Tejano. We always had Tejano music playing, regardless of anything. So regardless of what genre it was, Tejano was always in the house. And then me and my brother's an 80s baby. Like he was born, 89? And I was 94. So, you have the pop groups. You have NSYNC, Destiny's Child, like Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, all of that good stuff. So it was a really roundabout education, if you will, because ultimately that's what it is. You know, you educate yourself, you put more knowledge of music in you, you're gonna come out just singing everything. So I loved music at a very young age. Anytime we did music class in elementary school, that was like my number one class. Everything else was just really bad. But, getting into middle school, I had the opportunity to, they do electives in middle school. And they're like, okay, you can draw, you can take a computer class, you can act, you can be in the choir. What do you want to do? I was like, well, choir, because choir is associated to music. And that's where I learned how to read. I learned how to sight read. I didn't necessarily learn how to read keys until I got into high school. But sight reading for me was like just, wow, I learned rhythm and I learned this and I learned harmonies with other people and I got into different competitions. So it ultimately made me a little bit less scared to perform in front of people and a little bit more confident in the fact that I can sing and I can sing as loud as I want to. There was no restriction on how loud or how soft I could sing. I learned how to sing from my diaphragm. And all the while, my parents were just like, she's doing great in school. Like they had no idea this was like a passion, because they were just like, well, you tried out for volleyball the other day. I don't know like what you want to do. But it took my middle school choir teacher, Miss Sandra Davis, and her husband to tell my parents, she's got a gift and y'all need to foster that. Y'all need to inspire her to keep going because there's something there and she needs to keep on. And so dad and mom were like, okay, we'll get her into, any competition, because whenever you're in the competition, you have to pay for it. So any competition, they were like, yeah, go for it. I made it in all region, all state. Like I did all these different types of competitions. I had performed with different, chorus groups in the competitions. And then there's a school over here in Dallas, Texas. It's called Booker T. Washington for the Performing and Visual Arts. It was the first performing arts school that we had because we didn't have one in Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie now has about 4 or 5 of them.
Oh, wow.
Because of you.
Because of me. Nah. What's up? No, but for Dallas, for me to drive to Dallas every day, it was a 20-mile drive there, 20-mile drive back.
Uphill both ways.
That's 40 miles a day.
Dang. And traffic or what?
Oh, dad's telling me 80 miles. My bad.
He kept count.
He had to come back and pick me up.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
Then when you forgot something, you had to go back.
Yeah, it would be bad. It'd be terrible if I had forgotten something. But I tried out for the school with my choir director, Sandra Davis. She helped me get the audition piece together. Did the audition. I didn't hear anything back in a year. I was like, okay, well, it's all good. Out of nowhere, decided to do swim team in the middle of my freshman year of high school. And I was like, well, I guess this is my real love now. I guess I'll just do this, whatever. We get the call like 2 weeks into my sophomore year. And dad was like, hey, I don't know if you still want to do this. Like, they accepted you into the program. Do you still want to go? I'm like, yeah. Duh. Like, I want to go. Like, let's go.
Swim team. See you.
It was a no-brainer. Like, from then on, like, I went to performing arts high school. I was involved, and it was at the time it was like number 8, like it was like on the top 10 schools of America. So amazing music theory teachers, just the teachers in general, including like the academic side too. But the choir was top notch. We would go to every UIL competition. We still did the all region, all state competitions too. And then from there, because mind you, at this point in time, I was one of those people just like you, George, where I was just like, Tejano music, like, because as a young kid in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, in the suburbs, mind you, you're not going to necessarily feel like Tejano music is for you. At the time, everybody was listening to alternative rock, pop, soul. You had Adele, you had like all these different artists. And so that was my go-to. And, you know, everybody goes through that awkward emo stage.
Yeah.
So I had My Chemical Romance, I had Breaking Benjamin, Slipknot, you know, Back to Linkin Park, you know, I had all these different bands that I would listen to, and that was what I wanted. I wanted Paramore, I wanted to be Flyleaf, I wanted to be Evanescent. You know, so that was me, and you couldn't convince me otherwise. Junior year of high school, I get into a Latin American ensemble because my friends push me into it. They're like, Monica, we need to do this. Like, what are you doing? You know, you're our friends and you don't even speak Spanish and you don't even do this. And they were like really Mexican, like Mexican.
¿Quién te crees?
You know,
You don't even like tacos.
you don't even like tacos. Oh, I love them. But you don't even like tacos. And they're like, come on, like, do it with us. Like, you'll enjoy it. I'm like, but I don't even speak Spanish. And they're going to know I don't speak Spanish. And I'm like, she's like, just do it. I'm like, fine, I'll go ahead and do it. Like, it's whatever. I'll go ahead. Because you're in the class, I'll be in the class too. So I get into it and I absolutely loved it. Because we didn't just do salsa. We did all different types of Latin music. I mean, the only thing I think we didn't do was Tejano, but it was incredible. Like, we got to dress up. We got to go and do gigs at high-end like hotels and venues and things like that. I'm like, oh, so people like this music. And I loved it. And being able to perform with a band for the first time in my life, being able to perform with live instruments rather than with a track. Because I had been performing with the track at this point when I was 14. So this was around 15 or 16 where I got into this group, and it was put on by the school. So we would have rehearsals in class. We would get credit for that class, but then we would also get to gig around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So, I mean, it was incredible. It was an incredible experience. That is what opened up my eyes to the fact that, hey, I don't just need to be doing English music, and I have a gift to be able to do Spanish music. Let's study the language a little bit more. So I got more involved in, you know, the Spanish classes, the courses that I was taking, and I fell in love with the language. It's still really difficult as far as like talking, but I love the wording of lyrics now. I can see it a little bit clearer. I can hear it a little bit more clearer with the mindset of, this isn't my parents' music anymore. This is something that I like.
Do you feel like you can talk Spanish a little more now?
A little more fluent.
I think if I had practiced a little more, if I practice a little more and get comfortable with it, I think I could definitely have a conversation better. But if you're speaking like 160 miles an hour, I no.
So,
like most Hispanic people do.
Yeah, right. So in this case, Robert, let's switch it to Spanish. Monica, cuando...
I know.
No, I'm just kidding.
¿Cómo te sientes
love
hablando
to-
español? O sea, ¿te sientes un poquito excited?
Exciting.
I know. All I could think of was like, I talk to my parents obviously in Spanish all the time, but whenever I have to use it in a sense like this, like I've been wanting to do a podcast just in Spanish so I could challenge myself to practice it more.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I rarely use it in a sense of like questioning versus like when I'm talking to my parents, we're just like
When it's a normal
using slang.
conversation.
Yeah, comfortable using slang words, whatever.
Right. And then
or-
some people hate because whenever I learned Spanish, we learned it like they
Mucho.
call it the proper way, but it's really not proper, especially because if you try to use it on your grandma, she's gonna get pissed off at you because you're like using words that are like usted. She's like, why would you call me usted? It is tú. You don't call me usted. I'm like, it's supposed to be like the formal word of it. Like, why are you biting my head off, you know?
So we grew
She
up
was
with being
mad.
corrected on you better use usted for respect.
See, and that's what it is. It's just there's so many different opinions on how to say, you know, one word.
Yeah.
Like Saldivar, like salad bars.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was so happy. Let me just say, I was so happy that you got my last name correct the first try, because like I've gotten everything under the sun. Like Saldivar, Saldivar is my name. Salvador, Salazar, Salvador, Salad Bar. Like just so many different names growing up. I'm just like, yep, that's me. As long as you get the first one right.
O sea, Mónica, si te cambio el idioma a español, ¿qué me vas a entender? ¿O vas a seguir respondiendo? ¿O bueno, me te quedas así sonriendo, así como si no sabes? Y luego, ajá.
Sometimes.
She just shuts off her Zoom. She's like, all right, I'm done with this nonsense.
Sometimes I do, and it's not to be mean, it's not to be like disrespectful, but if I told you, lo siento porque mi español es no bueno, how are you going to feel about that statement? You're not going to feel super happy about meeting a Tejano star that sings in Spanish. You're going to feel like she's a fraud, you know?
No.
Like,
I actually would appreciate that a lot, because that means you're human and you're opening yourself up to yourself and you're being vulnerable and telling everyone the truth and saying, hey, I do sing in Spanish and I do know some Spanish, but I'm not confident or not. I won't be able to hold up a good conversation as you might expect. But it's telling me that you will try. And that's what a lot of people want. And that's all that people will respect, for you to try and to meet that level. And I think even if I was only fluent in Spanish and like 10% English, if you're able to say something and we can try each other, I think that's where it's very respectful and very, very honorable for someone to say that, to be able to open yourself up and be vulnerable and be like, hey, you know what? I would love to communicate with you, but it won't be as you might like it, but I would love to try my best to have a conversation. I think that's the best part about that.
I think we
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it froze a little bit. I'm like, I saw this movement kind of.
It's and you know what? I respect it a lot more, and because we see it everywhere now. Now, you know, there's country singers that speak or have a really thick other kind of accent, like what is it? Keith Urban. Keith Urban is Australian, I believe, and he has like a really thick accent when he talks, but when he's singing country music, you don't hear that.
You don't ever see
right?
it.
And that was the first time I was exposed to something like that. But now you see it in movies where the guy is talking perfect English, but really his first language was Spanish.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't say, it's like, so I respect a lot, of the fact that somebody is taking on the fact that they are good at something, which you are, very good. And so what if you don't, I like to pretend that I speak perfect English, but really when it comes down to it, my first language was Spanish and I suck at it sometimes. So I appreciate that effort, and I love that you're comfortable with expressing the fact that, hey, I'm not the best Spanish speaker, but motherfucker, have you heard my music?
I mean, there's always a sense of, for me, honesty is always important, no matter if it's my music, my career, my family. Like, honesty is the number one important thing to me. And if I'm not honest with my people, if I'm not honest with myself, it's not going to get me very far. You know, you can only lie so much before the lie becomes a little bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And then you have to chop it off at some point, you know? So for me, I have to tell my people, like, look, I am doing 100% of the research behind the wording of my lyrics. I try my best to talk to people. I try every day to, have that conversation with my mom, who, is a native speaker. She does speak Spanish very fluently. My dad learned because he's from California. But, they try with me all the time and tell me, okay, this is not the way you want to say that. This is how you want to do it. So again, family effort always. But yeah, honesty is the number one policy for me.
For sure.
Love it.
And I will say this, that again, bringing it back to a little bit of name dropping, that one time I met Michael Salgado. Yeah. He spoke to me. That one time. We had a very good, long conversation, but it was all in English. So
Yep.
there's
And he
that.
sounds like how he sings.
Una cruz de madera.
He does.
He
With
sounds
the-
like how he sings, how he
Todo
talks.
ronco.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, right here is it. How you doing, man? Like just real right here. I actually got to meet him back in May, I want to say. And it was like for the State of Tejano meeting. We have a meeting between all the stars or all the artists. Shelly Lares was there, Stephanie Montiel was there, Papi Pulido, Michael Salgado. So I got to meet all these great people. And I'm
Is
thinking,
this
okay,
is this kind of like the State of the Union kind of thing?
kind of like that to talk
Or like-
about how we can bring our genre up, how we
Yeah.
can make it more popular, and how we can get people to be more involved. So I think it's awesome
Yeah.
bringing the younger artists with the the artists that are a little bit more seasoned.
Love the way you put that.
Yeah, I don't like saying old. I don't like saying
No, not at all. They're not old at all.
yeah, they're not.
Seasoned.
I mean,
Veteran.
you're only as old as you feel. You're only as old as you feel. And I mean, they do a really good job at keeping up with themselves. But I'm thinking, okay, if I meet Michael Salgado, he's going to sound normal. He can't possibly sound like that outside of recording. Nope. How's it going? And it's so good to meet you. And I'm like, damn, dude. Like,
I love that impression.
shit.
But yeah, you're right. You're right. He does. But okay. Since you brought that up, it's it's awesome, or it's cool, funny maybe, that you guys have this kind of State of the Union or State of Tejano music. One thing that I've been hearing a lot, and more so when I was trying to do research on you, there's a lot of talk about how Tejano is dying, and maybe the fact that I'm here in San Antonio. Did you catch that? I went San Antonio. I went English and Spanish talking about.
San Antonio.
But here in
It
San
froze
Antonio,
a little
like I feel
bit. So I don't know. What were you saying?
oh no!
I'm
I
gonna
was
read
saying-
real quick.
I was saying that hearing that Tejano is dying, but living here in San Antonio, I think since we're right in the middle of the heart, or really close to it, you hear Tejano everywhere you go. There's
Right.
either a new artist or a seasoned artist, or just everywhere. Like you hear it. Obviously we have the fanfare, the Tejano explosion. So I'm surrounded by it. So I don't see how it's dying.
Right.
What do you think? Do you guys really, when you're meeting in these State of the I keep saying State of the Union, but in your
It's
meetings,
almost like that. Yeah.
is there honestly a conversation of that? Like, we can't let it die, or it's dying out?
So the conversations that we do have between artists and between, people that are heavily involved in keeping the genre alive, right? I think this was our first State of Tejano that we actually came together and was talking about it. And it wasn't just the artists too, it was the DJs, all around Texas. And it wasn't just producers. There was producers, there were songwriters, there was record labels that were actually there too. Freddie Records was a part of it as well. People that were associated, or people that are associated with Tejano music since it's, since the very beginning. Well, not so much the very beginning, but like closer towards the time where it was very alive and thriving. It's never going to get back to the 90s. It's not. We have to move on from that idea, because once we move on from the idea that it's going to go right back to the way it was, we can incorporate the new. We can incorporate bringing in the newer and the younger, and bringing in different ideas of what the Tejano is going to be. Selena did not stay in the same blueprint as everybody sees the Tejano to be. Selena mixed it up with different things, with different styles. And ultimately, that's what benefited her. Emilio was the same. Emilio was actually a very studied artist. He went and got a degree in music. He was very on top of his game, and his brother as well. you have to learn from the greats to continue to be great. You can't just stay in the same cycle over and over and over again, because it's never going to get any better. It's only going to stay where it's at. I don't think Tejano is dying. I think we can strive from where we're at. I believe that this old mentality of like, it's never going to change, it should never change, it should always stay the same. Well, country music is always changing as well. Any genre you look at is always changing. It's never going to be the same. But we haven't grasped that as a genre just yet. We need to grasp that so that our people can move on to something bigger and better.
Y soy más fuerte.
I want to agree with 50% of that, and I'll tell you why. Because since also you brought up country music, with that, I think I'm more of a purist, and I think that's what we're maybe what you kind of addressed is the fact that you have your seasoned vets, and then the newer blood coming in, and you know that you guys have a sound that is reaching the people of now, because the audience of the 90s is not the audience of whatever year we're in right now. So
you forget what time it is.
Yeah, so then you guys are also influenced, and I say you guys as in you being a newer artist. You guys are influenced by so much more that has gone on from the 90s to now, the different types of music, the different types of events in our lives, and that changes music and our lyrics, or your lyrics, and even the way you play it, or what kinds of instruments that you use. But the thing I saw with country music, I don't know why I'm still holding my hands like this. The thing I see with country music, I don't listen to the new stuff.
I'm gonna be a Lego.
I hate it so much. I hate the new stuff so much. Oh man, I need another shot now. No, I'm just kidding. This is awesome. I love that you guys.
This is me without any kind of alcohol. I don't need it. I'm good. No, I agree. It's okay to be a purist. It's totally fine to be a purist. You know what you like, but we need people to tell us what they like. Because right now people are just like, oh, it sounds great, man. You're doing a great job. It sounds great. Okay, but then in the same breath, you don't want to buy a CD. Why? You know,
well, because
and I'm not
I got it on Spotify, Monica.
Download it.
Yeah, download. By the way, all the different platforms. No, but I'm saying like, you know, people will come up to any band, not just myself. I've talked to other artists. And I'll be like, what is the thing that's really bothering you right now? Is that people will come up to us and they will tell us that they love the show, they love the band, they love the vocals, but they're not buying the music or the merchandise at all because they don't believe in us. It's not so much that, you know, we didn't do a good job or they're just kind of pulling our leg at the time. It's more that they won't let us know any kind of feedback. And that's what that's what we're dying for right now. The new artists, they want to know what they can do to make the genre better. And if we have purists out there, it's okay to have like your viewpoints on what you think the Tejano is, or what you think country is, or what you would like to have as far as being in this, you know, this new day and age of 2021 going into 2022. But you have to let us know. We're striving every single performance, every single song that we release or record. We want to know what the audience think. Now that's speaking from my own personal opinion. I think there's other artists out there. They're like, whatever. But for me being a new artist, we want to know what we can do to make the people happy, as well as incorporating, you know, my passion into it, my creative abilities into each song. If we have purists out there that were actually a little bit more open-minded and weren't going to get judged for what they say, I think we would be better off. But we don't listen to the people and the people don't listen to us. It's just this constant, like there's this wall that we can't ever really get across.
Yeah. Maybe the people are already saying what they want because they want that truque.
Yeah.
What were you guys saying earlier with your TikTok?
The
The
room.
room, that one. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Nonsense.
Yes.
No, well, the fact is, like, mainstream country for me is not a thing anymore. Like, I rarely even
Right.
listen to it. But they were the ones that also, like, it's super popular in certain places, or certain genre or people.
Depends.
But you always hear it's like, oh, it's not the same, and I don't like it. And and I go straight back to Texas country music or red dirt
Yeah.
music, whatever they want to call it. Um, but it's a fine line with the fact that country evolved, it is thriving in their own aspect. But and then you have these other people like rock music. Rock music is another one where
Hmm.
it's about being pure to what it was. But really, when you think about it, what new artist in rock music is there really out there?
There's
Like
not.
everybody's listening to the same bands, which I still love. But what happens when they go away? Is rock gonna die? Um, Disco music obviously died out a long time ago. They never got a chance to evolve or change. So it's such a we're not gonna fix it here, but it is interesting to know that
World
there
peace,
has to be a
right?
please fix it. Yeah, no, you did bring up a good aspect. Like the only way things are going to change in the right direction, whether it is for Tejano music or for this world in general, is for people to have conversations and hey, what do you guys like? What can we do? And then we're going to meet somewhere in the middle where we move forward together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think right now, especially with all the genres, really, all of the genres that we have, country turned more pop, rock turned more pop. So everybody's going for more of the pop feel. But the thing that they don't realize about pop music is that it wasn't pop. It wasn't this music. It wasn't this dance music all the time. Pop came from the name popular music. Popular music was it was different genres. So in a way, they're in the right idea, but popular music was more towards, I would say, just things that made sense, right? And right now, the genres are not necessarily making sense because they all want to be so pop.
Right.
So it's just, we're not like you said, we're not going to solve it today, but with this podcast, I guess my hope and my aspiration is for people to feel open to talk to us. When you're at a show, when you're looking on social media, everything is accessible now. Is it a good thing to be accessible? I'm not sure. But I know whenever I talk to my fans, they're able to tell me like, well, this is something that I think would be, a good idea, or this song makes me feel this way. And so I get my statistics or my stats, not just from my streaming, but from the people that come up to me and tell me how they're feeling.
Yeah. Give
Yeah.
you feedback, like good, confident feedback, not just, hey, I didn't like this. Like, I didn't like this for what reason?
Yeah, give me why. Why don't you
Yeah.
like it? And I think if you're going to be a part of the people, you need to know the people, So ultimately, that's something we need to learn. And
Yeah, no.
I love that, and I
goes
think
back to world peace.
I'll say
love-
this: Tejano music will never die.
There you go.
As long as you keep playing it, as long as you keep learning from it, you keep listening to it. Like I rode down the streets of downtown Cincinnati going to work, playing some Tejano music, playing some Spanish music. I rolled down the windows, maybe because I have to do the parking thing, but people still listen to it though. And as long as you keep practicing it and learning the music, then I don't think Tejano music will ever die.
Well, I'll say this. I'll add on to that. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of who we are as Latinos, as Mexican Americans, as Mexicans. Our culture is not going to die. Our teachings to our next generations, they're not going to die as long as we keep them going. So if we keep the culture of Tejano music, if we keep it alive, if we're alive as a culture, it'll remain alive.
Hey, you gotta let me know when you come to Ohio and Northern Kentucky. Let me know when you come play over here.
Yes, we're trying to get more. We're trying to get more north. We are trying to get more north, but it's been a really difficult thing to get out of Texas. The only place I've played outside of Texas is Las Vegas, and I didn't even have my own band. So
Yeah, hit up New Mexico a little bit.
yeah, we would love to. Everybody tells us go to Florida, go to New Mexico, go to. I'm like, we're trying. Like,
Well, that's awesome that you like. That's awesome that you guys have that opportunity, or that fact that the people are requesting in different states. That's a good indicator that Tejano's alive and well.
there we go. Yeah, there we go. And we will continue to
Like
spread
I said,
the
you
love
gotta,
of
you gotta
Tejano.
practice it a little bit.
Hey, he's got the accordion out.
Let's go.
There we go.
I was wondering what he's doing. He's like all squirming and trying to be all secret over here.
That's what I'm telling you. It will never die as long as you keep learning, keep practicing, keep trying.
There we go. There we go.
With that said, we've gone too hard, too fast with Monica Saldivar. Monica, where can somebody find you and listen to your music?
All right. So my music is available on all digital platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, Amazon Music. So you can go download all of the music on there, especially the EP. The EP is only digital. But if you are looking for a tangible copy of Monica Saldivar, the debut album, it is going to be monicasaldivar.square.site. We also sell t-shirts and we do free posters, and everything is in-house. So with every purchase of a t-shirt and a CD, you get a free poster, and it's signed by yours truly. Yes. So if you would like a t-shirt, CD, and a free poster, go to monicasaldivar.square.site. If you're looking to see any of the videos, we do have a YouTube page, Monica Saldivar. All of my social media is Monica Saldivar or Monica Saldivar Music. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And yeah, I hope to see everybody out there. There's going to be a lot of new shows coming up, but we'll see y'all soon.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Well, with that said, actually, Monica just opened up for Bobby Pulido, which is an Eagle Pass local.
That's
And
right.
we're both from Eagle Pass. Hip, hip. So, Monica, for your Too Hard, Too Fast story, can you tell us your experience for opening up for Bobby Pulido?
Woo! All right. So, obviously, it's Bobby Pulido. So we know that it's a big deal. I had, ironically enough, had met him like for the first time, got to shake his hand, because we would always be in the same venues, but I was never able to introduce myself, anything like that. So we would see each other in Vegas and nothing would happen. We saw each other at the State of Utah, or now I'm saying State of Utah.
Yeah, let's change the name.
We would see each other at State of Tejano, and like immediately he'd have to go on his plane. So I was like, man, So we had seen each other for the first time. I actually got to shake his hand for the first time about 3 or 4 weeks prior to this event last night. And I had an eye situation. I think I told you that was why we had to reschedule a couple of times. I had an eye, like a scratch in my eye, and could not wear my contacts. And that's something I wear 100% of the time. So here I am in my big old Harry Potter Coke bottle glasses at this event that he's at at Traders Village over here in Grand Prairie, Texas. And I'm like, hi. And he's like, thinking that I'm just a fan, because like obviously I look very different with glasses than I do in like my professional setting. I'm like, my name is Monica Saldivar. And he's like, oh, okay, you're the singer. And I'm like, yes, here. Yes, I just take my glasses off. So already, like, we started off on a good point where it was just like, it was kind of funny at the beginning. I was already nervous yesterday, like just completely nervous, because one, it's a really big festival that we were putting on. It's the first annual Rambling Roads Festival. This is what the t-shirt is right here.
Like that shirt.
So we did the first annual Rambling Roads Festival. A lot of people didn't come because of the rain, and it was a ticketed event. So that's another thing too with the Tejano music. It's kind of hard to get people to come whenever it's not a free event. But to each their own, it kind of happens that way. We had a good group of people come out. but it was still very difficult to get, a really good crowd going until like later on when obviously Bobby's fans started to come out. So got into the green room, was just taking my breaths, just, making sure that I wasn't freaking out when he got there. Cause I am a professional. I know how to act with other artists, but like, it's Bobby Pulido.
It's Bobby Pulido.
Yes, you know how to play it cool,
No.
but sometimes you just can't. You just don't need to.
I know, but you don't want to freak the person out, And so everybody's a human at the end of the day. He's definitely one of those people that, he has his good days, he has his bad days. And so I would talk to some of the musicians that play with him in their band. And Emmanuel J actually plays keys for his band. That's the other artist that I was telling you that's up and coming. So I was able to kind of chill out with the band, and they all had heard about me and said that, you do a really good job performing. You have a really good voice. I'm like, you've heard me? Like, y'all listen to me? So I got really excited about that. And then Bobby obviously doesn't come out until just a little bit before his set, because obviously people get kind of, crazy. Especially, if you were to see some of the shows, they almost jump the fence at some points,
Wow. Yeah.
So I understand, I was just like, well, maybe he didn't hear my show. It's all good. Like, went back to the green room and he's standing right there in the middle. I'm like, I was just like, do I go in? Do I?
Yes.
Like, what do I do? I don't know what to do with my hands, kind of thing. It's
Just dab him up real quick. What's up, dude?
I don't know what to do with my hands, but like,
Nice to meet you.
yeah, I'm Monica. But then I go into the green room and he gives me knuckles and he's like, you're a really good singer. Like, you actually do an amazing job and you have every reason to be here. I'm like, thank you. Like, I was like, thank you so much. I look up to you and I appreciate it. And so he did his set and then went back into the green room. I was there and I was like, well, thank you so much for sharing the stage with me. And he's like, sharing the stage with you? You have every right to be on that stage as much as I do. Like, and then from there, it just kind of turned into, one of these days we're going to do a duet on stage. I'm like,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That is
so that's
awesome,
in the
yeah.
works somewhere along the way. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it was too hard and it was too fast.
There you go.
That's awesome. That is awesome, man. I can't even imagine. Like, I can pretend to imagine, but I'm sure it doesn't even come close to that.
No,
The feeling that you're feeling right there. In
like
that
the whole
moment.
time I'm just like freaking out on the inside and I'm just like, yeah, I'm just
Just trying to stay. Yeah, definitely. That's what I feel like. I try to do that most of the times when I'm doing this podcast. Is like
yeah.
talking to these. Like, I'm trying not to freak out too much because I when I message people, it is an honor for you guys to be on here, and I appreciate it so much. So I'm like, okay,
Thank you.
don't mess up their intro, and then I
Right.
mess up the intro.
No,
Oh,
but
man.
thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really
No
do
problem.
appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I love it. I'm glad that we connected. Somehow I'm gonna figure out a way to get you a shirt.
Yes, please
get you
do.
the
I don't know how
koozies.
I'm gonna get the Bloody Mary beer to Cincinnati.
Don't worry about that guy. Don't worry about that guy. I'll hook him up.
Oh, and if you could possibly get it in a medium, that would be great.
Yes, I was gonna take it off recorded and be like, "What's your size?" That way.
No, they know I eat. It's fine. I'm a medium, so it's just.
Let's go.
Perfect. Ah, man, this is awesome. I would love to get a CD signed and I could put it on the wall somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we're closing out the podcast. Robert, what are you gonna say?
Tejano music will live on forever, especially with people like Monica Saldivar. And we're going to keep listening, buy her CDs, listen to her stuff on streaming. So keep in touch with her. And Tejano lives.
You heard it there, guys.
Lives. Tejano lives. And with that said, remember, dare to be you, dare to be weird. Bye. Let's do a grito.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it. I'm not doing it.
Robert.
Eso. All right.
I think Zoom kind of said "Meh," and cut you off
He's
somewhere
like,
through.
no, too Mexican. We can't do it.